Learning to anticipate rather than react to what your bike is doing underneath you is a huge part of off-road riding. It's a really foundational skill, and you can develop that with one really simple drill. Welcome back to MiniTip Monday. Learning to anticipate what the bike is going to do is a skill set that carries over into much more complicated skills. Things like preloading or learning to lift the front wheel over logs and so on. Anything that's explosive, you have to learn to put your body in a position slightly before that explosive thing happens. And I think a really good way to start to get comfortable with this skill is to practice it by doing something explosive but quite simple. So today we're going to do a lesson on how to accelerate really quickly. Both sat down and stood up. They're very similar skill sets, but I think in your riding, they make a really big difference to how comfortable you are with A, turning the throttle a really long way, and B, what happens when you turn the throttle a really long way, so that when you try to do more technical things, that's not the first time you've ever done something explosive on your bike. Quite often we get requests for how do I lift the front wheel? How do I do X? But when you roll that back and you look at people's riding, that's the bit they're missing, is being able to deal with the acceleration or the sudden change in momentum that you need to deal with by moving your body. So I'm going to explain how this works. As I said, this is a really simple lesson, and then Lucy is going to have a go as well.
I'll try.
All right, we're also using this goofy microphone setup because someone forgot to charge the microphones and it wasn't her. All right. The concept of dealing with acceleration well and getting comfortable with it is really simple. If the bike accelerates forwards when we ask it to and we're not ready, we go backwards. What you're trying to do is essentially do the opposite of that and move your body forwards before the bike goes, so that A, you don't have to hang on really tight with your hands, or B, it's a little bit difficult for you to control because you're going in the wrong direction. Essentially, it's deciding to be proactive rather than reactive, and we can do that through our body position. So when we sit down on the bike, really simply put, we take our nice, good, standard sitting position, and as I'm about to accelerate, I will lean into it this way so that my whole upper body is dealing with the force momentarily before I hit the accelerator. If you wait until you turn the accelerator to do this, your body goes backwards, you end up holding on, you end up turning the throttle more, you wear your arms out. We've all seen the YouTube video of that happening. We're going the other way. It happened to you.
I was about 9.
The same thing happens with our stood up acceleration. We have our good basic standing position like this, and when we want to accelerate, we have to take a little squeeze of the legs to hold on and deal with it and lean into it. This is really hard to show in a static environment, so we'll do it a few times to give you an example and to give you an example of what that looks like, and then we'll have a go. I just showed you what I wanted you to do.
Yes.
What's your first reaction?
Terrifying.
Why? Oh dear.
Am I not allowed to say that?
Lucy has this wonderful thing where when you tell her she's got to do something she doesn't want to do, she blanket refuses and then comes slowly backwards. Is this one of those times?
Yeah, I think it's a lot more, I don't know if aggressive is the right word, but like you're properly changing your position.
Yeah.
And like I never like riding that fast anyway, so for me it's going to be quite like a different like way of doing it.
So I think also within that, this isn't about learning to ride fast. This is about learning to deal with what's going on. So if you put the way I demonstrate that as the most extreme example, so that you can see how far you can move and probably should be moving if you were accelerating hard, you can work that backwards into your own comfort zone. It doesn't have to be like third gear, throttle to the stop.
Okay.
You can start smaller and build up and build up to it. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Your turn.
Ooh.
By like 1,000,000%.
What changed from the time before?
You told me to actually find the end point of this. I've never found that in my life. Like, I didn't even really know it existed. It's terrifying. My bike is faster than I thought it was.
Okay, well, let's go again then.
Okay,
Let's get comfortable with it.
I don't know if I will. Jesus Christ.
Are you ready to try it stood up now?
I think it might, I don't know, I might be eating my words in a minute, but I think it might be a bit easier stood up.
Okay.
Is that wrong? It is,
Very
isn't it?
wrong. Yes.
Oh.
It's definitely not easier stood up. All right.
It's actually, I think it's better to like do it in really small, like distance wise, like not commit to like a mile straight of it because it's terrifying.
Yeah, well, because the high speed is the scary bit.
Yeah.
But what you need to get comfortable with, not high, this isn't about learning to go fast. This is about learning to turn the throttle and deal with the acceleration.
Yeah, because I think the bit that scares me
Most of the time.
the bit that scares me the most is like once you get to that high speed, your like reaction time for everything is like nil.
Yeah, and that's why I'm a big believer that speed comes with time. Like you just need you need time for your brain to adjust to getting faster and faster and faster. If you try to force yourself to go fast, exactly what you just described happens. Like your brain just runs out of reaction time. Whereas this lesson is just about learning to accelerate the first 10 meters quickly.
Yeah.
After that, I don't care if you short shift 5 gears and amble around at 10 miles an hour. But the first part is the important part.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So she was looking pretty comfortable doing this, but her position, you can see in this clip, was slightly behind the handlebars all the time. So we had a little bit of a chat about it. I showed her the footage, and then she went and had another go, and you can see in the next clip that her position changes quite a bit, and now her head becomes more over the handlebars, a little bit in front of it even. So she's dealing with the acceleration by moving into it rather than just bending at the hips. You have just finished riding. In our our lesson about learning to accelerate quickly, but I made a slight mistake in how I demonstrated it to you / described it because, well, tell us more.
So I thought I had to maintain the very high speed for quite a while, and it scared the stuff out of me.
When I described this and I demonstrated it, the period of time for which I accelerated for was maybe a bit excess, and you definitely don't need to do that. That's not the point of this lesson. The point of this lesson or this exercise is to get as comfortable as possible with short bursts of acceleration, with using the full range of the throttle. But that doesn't mean you have to gain speed to a point where it's then uncomfortable. It's not about top speed, it's about acceleration. And I think gaining top speed is something that comes with time. I said that to you earlier. Rather than trying to force that, you can learn to accelerate quickly, but just go to the speed where you're comfortable, because the acceleration skill is something that really comes in handy when you start to ride different terrains, sand, mud, or you want to do more complex things and you need a quick piece of momentum, you can learn to do all of those things and never ride fast. Everyone's perception of speed is different. So, yeah.
Yes, it is.
So other than that, what did you kind of feel like you've learnt from what we've done?
Sorry. It's so affronting. So I think having your center of gravity more over the front of the bike, I think because I was still a bit nervous and hesitant, I wasn't putting my weight as far forward as I could be, which would actually give me more stability when like with being able to cope with that acceleration. So I think as soon as you said about putting my head sort of not just over the handlebars but over kind of more like the front mud guard, it felt a lot better and I felt actually a lot more safe.
Fantastic. Good job. Did you at any point feel like you had to hold on with your arms, or was your kind of balance and were you gripping the bike enough, or do you feel like because there was a lot else going on you had to hold on with your arms?
It was when I thought I had to accelerate for a long time and then I felt like I was holding on.
Was that just fear-based?
Absolutely.
Okay, so at the end of this, we have obviously done this exercise on dirt bikes. However, we do a lot of things with adventure bikes. It's definitely what our channel is built around. And I use this skill all the time on an adventure bike. If you ride an adventure bike and you want to go and learn this, there's a couple of things worth noting. You probably don't need to test the full range of your bike's throttle, because a 75 to 160 horsepower bike doesn't need that much acceleration. But the process is the same. You will also find that on most adventure bikes, getting as low and as flat as we did on a dirt bike isn't quite as possible because you've got fairings and screens and clocks in the way. This is the reason that the more off-roady ones, like KTM's and BMW's rally model, have really low fairings so that they're not in the way, basically. Everything about an adventure bike is a little bit more relaxed, but you can still learn this same process in the same way. You can still learn the same technique. And I think it's really, really helpful on an adventure bike as well, because it allows you to build momentum quickly to deal with obstacles. So that's about all I've got to say for this week's MiniTip Monday. We will be back again with another one next week without the large microphone. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have and you would like to see more of these MiniTip Mondays, this is a series we do on Patreon predominantly for our patrons. It comes out in a series format there. If you are able to and would like to help out with that, please click on the link in the description below. We also have a web shop where we sell tons of good stuff for dirt bikes and adventure bikes, a little bit of kit, some really nice clothing, etc. And if you're not interested in any of that, no stress. Yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching, and remember, life's better when you're riding.